Alright, today let's take a look at the 20 most expensive footballers on planet Earth and see how they got on in their first ever senior professional football match. Kevin De Bruyne. Kevin De Bruyne is ripping up the Premier League these days, but back in May 2009 he was given his first shot. I remember when I was given my first shot, it tasted like fire in my mouth. The 17-year-old Genk midfielder came on for the last few minutes in a 3-0 defeat at Charleroi. I'd have bet good money that the ginger lad getting overrun in the middle of the park by Adrian Godora would go on to become one of the best midfielders in world football. Zlatan Ibrahimovic. So we all know that Zlatan Ibrahimovic scores in his debut. That just seems to be the law these days. No, not back in 1999. Instead, he was chucked onto the pitch for Malmo as a skinny 18-year-old with a nose that could rival Canary Wharf and moped around the pitch before the club were relegated at the end of the season. Angel Di Maria. Angel Di Maria was playing senior football as far back as 2005, which seems insane considering it only feels like the other day he burst onto the scene as one to watch for Benfica, and then he won a Champions League, moved to England, got his house broken into and ran off to France crying for his life. His debut for Rosario Central came in a 2-2 draw at Independiente in December 2005 as he replaced Emiliano Vecchio, although he'd have to wait 11 months for his first goal. Alvaro Morata. So Alvaro Morata looks like another expensive Spanish striker to wind up at Chelsea, only to forget what the back of the net looks like. Anyway, this is a man who cost £60 million last year, but it all began for him in August 2010, making his debut for Real Madrid Castilla in a 3-2 win over Coruso FC. Do you know who his strike partner was that year, in the audition camp for the biggest club on the planet? Joselu. Yes, Joselu, the fella who makes Newcastle fans long for the days of Shola Amiobi. Whoever thought he'd make a great foil of Cristiano Ronaldo was probably brought out back and shot in the streets of Madrid a long time ago. Riyad Mahrez. So Riyad Mahrez finally looks to be getting things together at Man City, but I'd say if you told him 5 years ago, you know, back when he was escaping a St. Mirren trial on a stolen bike, that he'd soon be earning 200 grand a week, he'd have snapped your hand clean off. Back in 2009 he was playing for amateur club Quimper FC in the 7th tier of French football, and he was also sharing a flat with Paul Pogba's brother. Little did he realise that he'd one day end up swimming in cash in the same city as his flatmate's little bro, while Matthias clutches at a CV containing Wrexham and Partick Thistle and no doubt spends his afternoon searching for coins from underneath public vending machines. Been there, lad. Thomas Lemar. Thomas Lemar is a £60 million player these days, and he's still only 22 years of age with a handful of French caps. 5 years ago, not even his own mother probably even remembered who he was. He was stuck in League 2 with Cannes, and for his debut, he was subbed onto the pitch for former Monaco winger Jerome Rothen. A premonition of things to come. N'Golo Kante was on his team, by the way, so of course they won that game. So was Jonathan Kodja, but he was less important. James Rodriguez. James Rodriguez is only 3 years off 30. It seems like only yesterday he was the next big thing on the market after he smashed up the 2014 World Cup. Anyway, the Bayern Munich playmaker has been playing top flight stuff since 2006, back when he was 14 years old. Big deal. Freddie Adu was getting compared to Pele at that age, only to wind up stuck out the back arse of nowhere, with the CV reading like a who's who of footballing nobodies, forcing him to no doubt cry into his cornflakes every night before bed. But enough about him. Rodriguez made his debut for Colombian side Envigado in May 2006, becoming the second youngest Colombian player to start a professional football match. Insane. Kepa Arrizabalaga. Say, Thibaut Courtois, this is what happens when you pack your stuff and leave. The officials of Chelsea have a meltdown and chuck £70 million at a fella with 2 caps for his country. Anything to keep Rob Green away from the goddamn pitch. In fairness, Kepa Arrizabalaga is a good player, bit overpriced, but who isn't? He made his career debut back in 2011 for Baskonia in Spain's equivalent of League 2. Luis Suarez. To be fair to Luis Suarez, he's settled down a lot since moving to Barcelona, having finally learned that human flesh belongs in the body and not in his mouth. The Uruguayan superstar, who commanded a £75 million fee 4 years ago, made his career debut in May 2005, the same month Jimmy Traore broke the laws of football, at the age of 18 for Nacional against Junior de Barranquilla in the Copa Libertadores. Virgil van Dijk. Virgil van Dijk is fast emerging as one of the best defenders in world football, somehow turning a Liverpool defence that looked like something straight out of Fraggle Rock into an actually competent backline. Impressive stuff from the Dutch captain, considering he's playing against Hibernian and Partick Thistle every week a few seasons ago. Anyway, his career debut for Groningen was in May 2011, playing the last 20 minutes in a 4-2 win over Edo Den Haag. Romelu Lukaku. It's hard to believe Romelu Lukaku is only 25 years old. He's 2 years younger than Oscar, for Christ's sake, who looks like he spent the last 6 years hiding from the babysitter. Lukaku is a man who developed early, probably breaking his voice at the age of 7. Remember May 24, 2009? Of course you do, it was the day Newcastle got relegated. Well, somewhere else in the world, Lukaku was playing the final 20 minutes of a championship playoff match for Anderlecht against Standard Liège as a fresh-faced 16-year-old. Gonzalo Higuain. Gonzalo Higuain seems to get very little respect considering he scored 288 goals in 564 games, playing for some of the biggest clubs on the planet. Shame his legacy is going to be tarred by that human diarrhea of a performance in the World Cup final. The 30-year-old was let loose in the world back in May 2005, starting up front for River Plate in a 2-1 defeat to Gimnasia, which honest to God just sounds like a part-time gym. Gareth Bale. He's made a career out of winning Champions Leagues and torching fullbacks to death, but Gareth Bale started his career playing left back for Southampton as they relegated Millwall in April 2006. The lad was only 16 but played the whole game as goals from Kenwyne Jones and Ricardo Fuller sent the Lions down. I wonder if anyone guessed that amongst the interminable dross out on around that pitch, including Marion Pahars, Zach Whitbread and Darren Potter, that there'd be a fellow who'd go on to lift 4 Champions Leagues. My money would have been on Nathan Dyer. Cristiano Ronaldo. Well, Cristiano Ronaldo is the only player who'd make this list twice. They say the Portuguese superstar started his career like a one-trick pony with a dodgy haircut. It's fair to say he had his skeptics, but he's the only man on this list so far to score on his debut, not just once but twice. In October 2002, at the age of 17, he scored a double for Sporting Lisbon in a 3-0 win over Moreirense. Paul Pogba. Ellen Road was the setting for Paul Pogba's career debut, unleashed in a 3-0 win in September 2011. Michael Owen and Ryan Giggs with the goals. Ousmane Dembele. Ousmane Dembele's career debut, sure that was practically the other week. The Barcelona wingers had such a fast progression in his career. He was playing in the second division of French football with the Rennes B team the last time Barca won the Champions League. He made his debut for them in September 2014, replacing Zana Ale in the Championnat de France Amateur. Apparently he wasn't deemed ready for the Rennes first team, which had the likes of John McCoon, Gelson Fernandes and Gata Basal, Ola Toivonen. Philippe Coutinho. Philippe Coutinho spent his youth days at Vasco da Gama, but he's been in Europe since he was 16, signing for Inter Milan in 2008. However, Jose Mourinho chucked him back on loan to Brazil for 2 years. Sure, he was hardly getting past Wesley Sneijder back then. And so his debut was for Vasco da Gama and he won them the Serie B title in his first season. Within 2 years, he'd be playing under Mauricio Pochettino. Yeah, bet you've forgotten that. Kylian Mbappe. Kylian Mbappe is going to be the best player in the world someday. He just is. Anyway, the World Cup winner made his debut for Monaco in December 2015, replacing Fabio Contrao for the final 2 minutes in a 1-1 draw against SN Cannes. Less than 3 years later, and he scored 63 goals, won 2 league titles and a World Cup. Neymar. Like Coutinho, Neymar's career obviously took off in Brazil, although it could have been Spain considering he was shown around the Bernabeu at the age of 14. Instead, Real Madrid chose not to sign him and are now apparently trying to fork out 250 million quid for the lad. Again, what is the hierarchy doing at that club? Anyway, his debut came in March 2009 as a 17-year-old brought on for the last 30 minutes in a 2-1 win over Oist, whoever the hell they are.